Will the Senate please come to order? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Aquino. Here. Senator Awa. Here. Senator Chang. Here. Senator DeCoit.
Here.
Senator Dela Cruz. Here. Senator Elefante.
Here.
Senator Favela.
Excused.
Senator Fukunaga. Senator Gabbard. Senator Hashimoto. Senator Ihara.
Excused.
Senator Inoue.
Present.
Senator Kanuha. Senator Keohokalole.
Ew.
Senator Kidani. Senator Kim. Senator Lee. Senator McKelvey. Senator Moriwaki.
Present.
Senator Rhodes. Senator Richards.
Here.
Senator San Buenaventura. Senator Shimabukuro. Senator Wakai. Mr. President.
Present.
23 present, 2 excused.
Thank you. The chair has read the journal of the preceding day and approves the same. Are there any introductions this morning? Senator Keohokalole.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the gallery is a very close friend that I've had for a long time, someone I consider a brother who was born and raised, Mr. President, on the island of Kauai from Ele. And
How
he's up at the
fortunate
gallery.
for him.
His name is Alika Rivera. Can we please welcome him to the Senate?
Further introductions. Senator Kidani.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, on behalf of Senate President Ronald Kochi, I am honored to extend a warm welcome to Island School from his district in Lihue, Kauai, who are in the gallery today. Will the students, chaperones, and teachers of Island School please rise to be recognized? Mr. President, may I request the names of all students and faculty present with us today from Island School to be added into the Senate Journal. Welcome to our Hawaii State Senate, and thank you for your presence with us today as we continue working to serve the people of Hawaii. Mahalo.
Thank you, Senator Kidani. I got to visit with them earlier this morning, and we also had a chance to discuss the State Division II boys soccer champions, first state championship for Island School, as we recognize the outstanding achievements of Mililani yesterday. Further introductions, Senator Wakai.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could first introduce to you my staff. You heard from Tulsa this morning. The phenomenal apple crisp maker is Ashley, and next to her is my office manager, Richard. Welcome to the state capitol. Mr. President, may I proceed with the floor presentation? Okay. An Olympic-sized swimming pool is 50 meters by 25 meters and is 2 meters deep. It holds 660,000 gallons of water. The Navy drained 104 million gallons of fuel out of Red Hill. That equates to about 158 Olympic-sized pools. That is a lot of liquid. All of that traveled 2.5 miles offshore to tankers. Not a single drop of fuel leaked into our aquifer during the defueling process. That is a monumental feat. It is with tremendous gratitude that I stand here to recognize Vice Admiral John Wade, commander of the Joint Task Force Red Hill. He came up with the plan and executed it to perfection. Vice Admiral Wade, if you could please stand to be recognized. You can be seated. This is going to take a few minutes. This saga had a very grim beginning. Back in 2014, 27,000 gallons of jet fuel leaked into our aquifer. The mishap brought attention to the aging World War II facility and its threat to Oahu's groundwater. The Navy argued that Red Hill was an important strategic asset and needed to continue operating. They came up with a plan to fix the tanks by 2037. Navy officials consistently assured us that this leak was an aberration and everything was A-OK. Then in November 2021, another 14,000 gallons of fuel leaked from Red Hill, this time seeping into the Navy's water system that services 93,000 customers. After initially dismissing concerns, the Navy later acknowledged that their well was contaminated. The Navy's water system contained levels of gasoline and diesel hydrocarbons as much as 350 times higher than acceptable levels. They created an environmental and public health disaster. The ingestion of fuel led to an assortment of negative health consequences for families. 2,200 people have filed suit. A Navy investigation reveals shoddy management and human error were to blame for fuel and toxic fire suppression foam that got into our water. Residents were dissatisfied with the Navy's repeated gaffes and denials. We were all clamoring for the closure of the storage facility. And in March of 2022, the U.S. Department of Defense finally agreed to permanently shut down Red Hill and remove the fuel. A report issued 2 months later indicated a host of maintenance issues, such as corroded piping, damaged coating, and missing bracing. That's a lot of fixes. Many of us were skeptical about how the defueling process would play out. In September of 2022, the Secretary of Defense appointed Vice Admiral John Wade to establish and command the Joint Task Force Red Hill. His mission was to ensure the safe and expeditious defueling of Red Hill. He nailed it. Vice Admiral Wade didn't create this catastrophe, but he inherited it. He owned it and took on this assignment head on. Vice Admiral Wade held a number of town hall meetings where he was confronted by angry service members, their families, environmentalists. In all cases that I witnessed, he responded to furious criticism with respect and grace. His answers were honest. His efforts were earnest. I would now like to pass the microphone over to the Vice Admiral of Public Safety and Military Affairs, Senator Elefante, to share the next chapter of Vice Admiral Wade's triumph.
Thank you, Majority Floor Leader Wakai. Mr. President, I also stand in support recognizing Vice Admiral Wade for his leadership in putting together a team comprised of military and civilian professionals to work with our Hawai'i congressional delegation, congressional committees, the governor, mayor, and numerous state legislators and committees, and federal and state regulatory agencies. During his assignment, Vice Admiral Wade was committed to keeping all lines of communication open with the community, engaged with the media, and was receptive to feedback from stakeholders. The defueling was supposed to take 3 years and be completed this year, but under the leadership of Vice Admiral Wade, the defueling plan moved quickly. His team was able to remove more than 104 million gallons of fuel, including 61,000 gallons of residual fuel, 6 months ahead of schedule. That is phenomenal. As Majority Floor Leader mentioned, there were no mishaps. The Navy's responsibilities are far from over. They are committed to continuing their turnover of the facility with the newly established Navy Closure Task Force. There is still a need to clean up contamination from prior leaks. That is another ominous task. However, the Red Hill tanks are no longer a threat to our aquifer thanks to the exceptional work of Vice Admiral John Wade. That chapter has been closed. He couldn't have done that alone. Today, he's accompanied by his team, and I ask that the members and people in the audience please hold your applause while we recognize the following individuals a part of his team. We have General Mark Hashimoto. If you could please stand. Also with him is his wife, Catherine Wade. Brigadier General Michelle Link and husband Chris Link. Brigadier General Lance Okamura. And then the rest of the members of his team, or if you're from Indo-PACOM, if you could please stand so you could be recognized by the Senate. Thank you so much. Please join me in expressing our gratitude and aloha to Vice Admiral Wade and his leadership team for all that they have done to successfully defuel the Red Hill Bulk Fuel Storage Facility and their commitment to doing so with aloha for our community. Again, let's give another round of applause to Vice Admiral Wade.
Thank you. Any further introductions? Senator Keohokalole.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I'd be permitted to make one additional introduction, she did not stand to be recognized as a part of the Joint Task Force team, but was an instrumental part of this effort, I think from beginning to end. And she's a former constituent, but resident of Kaneohe. Jennifer Sabas is here and was a big help in this entire effort. Can you please recognize her as well?
So I did tell the Admiral that we had a short agenda, so if he would patiently sit, we'd finish, adjourn, and then come up to congratulate him and take pictures. But I would be remiss if I didn't report to the Senate. 2 Fridays ago, I attended a meeting of the Military Affairs Council of the Chamber of Commerce. One of the presenters was Admiral Wade. I commented, like you, Senators Wakai and Elefante, that his presentation was clear, concise, layperson like myself clearly understood what he was talking about. But what I also found out at that meeting is that General Hashimoto has come to the end of his 3-year rotation and will be moving on in life. I was concerned when General Verizlam's rotation ended and who was going to replace Just Call Me Susie, and I met General Hashimoto, and through this time in interfacing with Senator Keo Kalole, who was lead on the Senate's Red Hill efforts as he was health chair at the time, General Hashimoto has been forthright, candid, available, and had my trust in the conversations that we had. So on behalf of the rest of the Senate, we'd like to wish you well in your future endeavors as well, General Hashimoto. Madam Clerk.
On page 2, House Communication number 454 informs the Senate that the House has disagreed to the amendments proposed by the Senate to House Bill 159, Senate Draft 1.
File.
Referrals and re-referrals.
Referrals and re-referrals are made in accordance with the supplemental orders of the day that may be filed later today.
No further business, Mr. President.
Are there any announcements? Senator Decoit.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to request that the Senate adjourn on a rising vote and observe a moment of silence in honor and memory of former Maui County Councilwoman Gladys Baisa.
So ordered.
Mr. President, on behalf of myself and the Maui delegation, yesterday we lost a wonderful woman that made Maui County a better place. Former Maui County Council Chair Gladys Baisa, who represented Upcountry Maui, was a dynamic individual who worked tirelessly for communities across Maui Nui. She is known to be tough and caring at the same time. Not counting her time on the county council, Gladys dedicated herself to the people of Maui County as a former executive director of Maui Economic Opportunity and many community nonprofits, boards, and groups. Since her retirement from the county council, Gladys still stayed very involved in the community, showing up to meetings and participating in talk stories. While she was a dynamic force, her presence with her caring smile could light up a room, and I, for one, took comfort knowing she was there to keep us all on our toes in a positive way that only she could do. I send my aloha and deepest condolences to her family and my mahalo to them for sharing her with all of us, not just in Maui Nui, but across the entire state. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Further announcements? If not, the chair has one. There will be a leadership meeting in my office immediately after we adjourn and greet our honored guests. Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate stand adjourned on a rising vote, observing a moment of silence in memory of former Maui County Councilwoman Gladys Baisa. And I further move that the Senate reconvene at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow.
Senator Decoit.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. If there are no objections from the members, the Senate will stand adjourned on a rising vote, observing a moment of silence in memory of Gladys Baisa, and the Senate will reconvene at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow.